Podcast Radio Hour with me, Stuart Ross, and our guest this week, the actor, comedian and podcaster, Alex Lowe. Now, Alex, as I mentioned at the start of today's programme, you've been particularly productive on the podcast front in recent months, but we're going to focus now on one of your more notable creations, Clinton Baptiste and Clinton Baptiste's Paranormal Podcast. For those who aren't familiar with Clinton, who is he and what's the podcast about?
Clinton Baptiste is a terrible, end-of-the-pier, very unsubtle, undiplomatic, clairvoyant medium and psychic who I played many years ago on Peter Kay's Phoenix Nights for Channel 4. Peter recently has allowed me to go out and perform the character very kindly, absolutely fantastic, which I go and do at stand-up, sort of cabaret evenings and what have you. And this podcast is about Clinton and his hapless escapades, meeting people, giving them readings, contacting people from beyond the celestial curtain.
Was Clinton originally Peter Kay's creation then, or was he yours then?
No, it was very much Peter Kay's creation, and the copyright is with Goodnight Vienna Productions, but he's kindly allowed me to perform Clinton. I send him all my work, and he's very happy. Thankfully, I'd hate it to be something that he wasn't pleased with, but so far, it's been pretty successful. And I mean, I have to say, I lay claim to producing this podcast. There's me, there's producer Jonathan Cook, but really I've drafted in tons of actor friends of mine who have happily just done it for a laugh. One day, if we make some money, I might give them some money. But no, it's lovely. It's like a jam session. So a lot of the gold that we come out with is through improvisation.
Well, I mean, the podcast is really well put together. I mean, you have phone-ins, Clinton conducts interviews with guests, they're also supposed on-location recordings, all of which have been fabricated, of course, and it's all very funny. Well, we'll talk a bit more about Clinton Baptiste's Paranormal Podcast shortly, but first, let's hear a clip from it in which Clinton encounters a rather amorous soul while visiting the Yorkshire moors to exorcise a ghost.
Well, lovely to see you, Ursula. Just pop that down there. Listeners, you join me here. Lovely farmhouse you've got. Quite a wind blowing through, isn't it? Now, you moved up here, 5-6 years ago, is that right?
It was 5 or 6 years ago, yes. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and what sort of thing have you been doing up here, Ursula?
Well, we've had quite a lot of activity around here, actually.
Have you really?
Yes.
Yes, what sort of thing?
Well, we've had a few spirits. One in particular.
You've called the right man. What's the one in particular? What's his name? Do you know?
Well, I think he's called Barnabas.
Right, Barnabas. Right. How does he manifest himself?
Well, I actually think he's here right now.
Oh goodness me! I do feel a chill. I thought that was just the cracks in the window pane, but I do feel something.
Oh, yes.
Are you there? Are you with us, Barnabas? Yeah, I can feel it.
Oh, yes.
So can you describe this Barnabas fellow? What's he like?
Well, he's a young fellow.
Young fellow, yeah.
He is quite muscular.
Right.
He has a very, very strong, virulent... energy.
Yeah, energy.
Yeah,
I can feel it. I can feel it,
I can feel it too. I feel it often.
Often, yeah. Mm. And what's he doing? What's he saying to you?
He's saying, get near her.
Pardon?
He's saying, get near her. Come closer.
Want me to come?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, but is he not saying that about himself? He's saying that he wants...
Oh, no, he specifically said, Clinton, he wants you to touch her.
You?
Oh, yes.
I don't know whether he wants me to do that. He's probably talking about himself, really.
No, he said touch her.
Okay.
It doesn't...
No, don't do that. No, he's not saying do that.
He specifically says grab her.
No, he didn't. Don't, Ursula, just a minute. Don't, you don't have to listen to him when he's...
And then you can touch her right there.
No, I don't want to do that. No,
he specifically said to do...
Yeah, I've done that now. That's enough. I'm not doing it.
Oh.
Well, no, I'm not...
He says a bit more.
Yeah. All right, well, I've touched it once. I don't have to do... Right, do you know, I think he might be going away a little bit now, isn't he?
No,
Yes,
still
he is.
Here. He's very much here.
Right.
He wants to see us together, united.
Yeah, I don't...
As one.
Yeah, he's taking me over. He's taking me... No, he's taking me over.
He's taking me over.
Well, he's taking me over first, and he's going, oh, no, you don't have... Oh, his voice is coming through. Oh, you don't have to do any of that, Clinton, he said. That's what he said.
He's saying, I think you two are made for each other.
No,
I want to see you in bed.
Yeah, no, he didn't say that.
I think I want to see them both in bed right now.
Get off there. Get off that now. No, I don't really mean it. He's going, no, he's going, I don't really mean it. I don't really... No, all right. No, it's fine. Back off, he's saying to you. He's saying, back off. That's him talking. Yeah.
Right.
No.
I think you should do that again.
Right, no.
Top 70.
No, he doesn't.
Just the top half.
No, he's not doing that. He doesn't want you to do that either. He's gone. Oh dear, that's a shame. He's gone. Look,
He'll be back.
Well, not just yet. He won't be. I'm just gonna look. I tell you what, I think I've left something in the car. I'm gonna go and get me Geiger counters in the car. Right. Thank you. Excuse me. Get off. Ow.
That was a clip of Clinton Baptiste's Paranormal Podcast, courtesy of Lowe Productions, and featuring Alison Ward as Ursula, alongside our studio guest today here on Podcast Radio Hour, Alex Lowe as Clinton Baptiste. It sounds like you had great fun putting the podcast together, Alex.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, as I said, I had friends come into the studio, I had friends phone up. I imagine it's the equivalent of getting a band together and just jamming, and then, obviously there's some rubbish that gets filtered out, but great fun to do.
Fantastic. I think it's really interesting because, the podcast does in many ways sort of spoof a typical radio show, but it's apt that Clinton now should be making a podcast because he's not being held accountable by a sort of broadcasting authority and can say whatever he likes. Anyone who challenges him is immediately sort of shouted down and he gets the facts to suit himself. I was wondering, you as Alex Lowe now, are you someone who's knowledgeable about the paranormal and did you have to do much research into sort of the paranormal podcasts that are out there to kind of get an idea of how they might sound?
I was certainly not... I didn't have any knowledge about the paranormal before this, but I have trawled YouTube and all the rest of them. The thing that makes me laugh is the end of the pier element. When I was at university, we used to have a guy in Freshers Week who would come and do that on-stage hypnotism. And that really tacky, you can see all the cogs working. That's what makes me laugh. It's not really about... taking the mickey out of spiritualism or anything. And, I'd hate anyone to think that that's what it was. It's really about showing up a charlatan for what he is.
And he just happens to be a
it wasn't that. It'd be something else. It'd be a guy flogging, knockoff goods in a market. It's just, it just happens to be this is the subject matter.
Well, thank you for telling us about your Clinton Baptiste podcast, which is not to be confused with the Clinton Baptist Church podcast.
Definitely
out there
not.
The US. And how about this for a non sequitur? Alex, do you like the Beatles?
I love them.
Well, that's good to hear, because the podcast which I would like to put forward as my recommendation for this week is the Beatles-led podcast, I Am the Egg Pod. In each